Hello, I'm Chris Godber, and I'm the author and co-director of Alien Rabbit Limited, which is the channel you're watching right now. I wanted to talk just a quick introduction to my book, Romance in the Commie Blocks, and talk about some of the background to that short story collection, and just basically what it's about. It's available on Amazon.co.uk right now for under £2 as an ebook, and the paperback we're just sorting out at the minute. It should be available in the next 2 weeks at least. It's almost ready actually, I just need to finalise a few things. Anyway, Romance in the Commie Blocks. It's a short story collection, so an anthology of stories. There are in total 11 stories. Two of them are flash fiction, so 2 of them are extremely short, but the rest are small to medium length short stories. It's about 60 pages long basically. There's also illustrations for each story, which relate to each story. Let me just talk a bit about the conception of Romance in the Commie Blocks. So this book, the mid part of it actually, when I was going through the creative process of it, was quite muddled. So I started off with one idea, and then I veered off into another direction and sort of took it back into its original form. So the original conception was I wanted to write a somewhat of a more optimistic, but also I wanted to have a exploration of love and hope as well in grim times. But it's a bit 50-50 actually, to be honest. Like some of the stories are quite pessimistic still, but then some of them also have a tone of hope too. One of the stories is, I'll just describe like a few of the stories, like the general gist of them basically. One of the stories is a war story, which is set. It's basically an exploration of men in extreme conflict situations and what that does to their minds, bodies, and souls, basically. Which sounds a little cliched, but it's set in an interesting setting. It's a sort of galactic civilization. It involves two men, one of whom is a writer. It's sort of influenced. So I had in mind somewhat Orwell. It's a sort of like intellectual sort of idealist in some respects, who's been a bit, sort of crushed by the experience of war, and it's basically him writing from his perspective on his experience of the war. A lot of that story is that basically. There's also a story about. So some of the stories have this dark visionary aspect to them. So one of the stories is set in a sort of ruined, sort of like hyper-capitalistic world where, but almost like fascist actually more than that. Something like Gidi Prime, but then human beings are actually literally batteries. I won't spoil anything more than that. I'm going to leave it a little bit veiled. There's also a story about a sort of revolutionary story, a story about revolutionaries and a bureaucrat, which is the counterpoint in the characters to that idea. So it's also about how connection can bloom between two people who are from opposing worlds. And there's a few other stories as well. But yeah, like I said, it's available on Amazon now. I'll probably do some further videos on this channel talking about the inspiration, but again, like I don't want to spoil the stories. I just want people to read it. Really, it's under £2. It's got nice illustrations, which mixture of painting and drawings that have been produced. It represents my second creative fiction book, or fiction book in general. Like they are pretty much like a mixture of the science fiction, horror, and the psychedelic. Probably inspired in some ways by Harlan Ellison and the New Wave, but also Philip K. Dick, and writers like Neuromancer, William Gibson, who wrote Neuromancer, and these sorts of writers like the sort of cyberpunk as well. But I'm sort of mixing a series of different influences. Orwell's been a bit more of an influence recently too. I've been reading a lot more Orwell. I'm just reading Camus at the minute actually, so it'll be interesting to see if I can take in any of that inspiration from the that sort of existentialist literature. And Chekhov I've been reading actually not so long ago. Anyway, so Chekhov is a really great Russian short story writer, so it's been very good just reading some of his stories, because I mean he's a master of the short story format and is known as such. Anyway, that's that. I'll leave it at that. Chris Godber, Alien Rabbit signing off.